Hello, this is Dave, and welcome to Equity Story. And we've got Happy Friday, a wonderful day, isn't it, Wolfie? And this is just general share advice and not personal advice.
Nothing happy about today, except we're done with this week. It's been an awful week, really capitulation week for me. We could see a few of these weeks. Dave, if you want to put on the Dow, it just sees the big red candles coming through, and possibly we're going to see a little bit more further downside. We got to get back to that 2018, 2019 levels, and we're getting almost there, another maybe 10%.
And how's Natalie feeling? Because I think she feels she's
nervous. She's nervous.
She's nervous because there's a few stocks that maybe we're going to have to sell Natalie to buy because the way this buy.
She has been looking at cosmetics and stuff, to make herself a bit prettier when she has to go up for sale.
Okay, well that's good.
She's getting ready.
That's excellent. So anyway, so she's watching it carefully. I think if there's anything I can console her with, I think SWM isn't holding up too bad. Wolfie, maybe it goes down to 30, but it's already had a big fall, hasn't it? And JLG's cool, look exciting. Nibble, maybe down to 4, Wolf. That would be great, wouldn't it? Yes,
absolutely. I mean, that's where we start buying en masse, I suppose. And $3, yeah, it's hello, Natalie.
Now, Wolfie, we've had 3 announcements today. I want to go through them. Yes, and it's nice to see a stock up, which is Bub. Obviously, the chart, the chart is not a buy for me, but certainly it doesn't say sell, right?
In a normal market, Dave, this probably be up 100% by now, I'd say, on these announcements, because really, that announcement would be pretty strong. I mean, Walmart's collaboration where they're going to stock all the Bubs tins in Walmart car stores in the US. Now a profit or revenue upgrade with a bottom line upgrade as well. I mean, what else does investor want? Nothing apart from seeing the price go up.
Yeah,
not easy.
I still argue the case. I think I'd still sell it if I could get XRO at $60.
Yeah, look.
I mean, would you rather this at 0.61 cents, or if you got something like in this sell-off, you got something like XRO going down? Would you, if you could get a bit of XRO at 60, or you could get a bit of JLG at $4 or even $3? I mean,
well, look, I can make a case for a lot of stocks like this. Absolutely.
Isn't it a time now that you, if you got your small caps and they've held up, you sort of you get out of them, and because you're going to buy the creme a la creme, aren't you, for next to nothing over there?
Well, this is exactly, I want to buy something on sale, right? I mean, that's what I'm looking for now. The bargains, the sales are on. You're looking for bargains, so you're looking at stuff that's come back to the 2019 and below levels. And if you can find them at reasonable prices, you buy that. And funnily enough, Dave, we had a quick look. So we look at our top stocks here, and some of these, like I said, XROs, for example, your Seeks, I've come back to 2018, 2019 levels. That's before the pandemic, before this exuberance came through. We look at Microsoft, it's not even close. It's only just lost 6 months of its value. So there's so much still, I reckon, carnage possible on the NASDAQ, right? Because the exuberance, maybe some of the other really crappier, non-profitable stocks have dropped, but Microsoft doesn't really budge that much. So yeah, I think there's possibly much more risk to the downside than it's the upside in the US stocks. However, like I said, when I look at the Australian stocks, it's just been, everything's just been thrown out.
Wolf, we're going to have a look at the Dow. So the market never does, we're talking about this today, very rarely does what you expect it to do in a way, right? And I think you look at this, and some people might think, okay, we might get a bit of support on the trend line, maybe. I think people are talking worst case scenario 26,000. But sometimes the market does something totally opposite, right? And can surprise. We talked about that today. Where the surprise could be. Could the surprise be a rebound, a slingshot to the upside? And we think not. But maybe the surprise could be that this market goes a little bit lower than we think it's going to go low.
Yeah. The only, I think, like we talked about just before, is the only, if there is going to be a upside, the war has to end. I think that's the only way you can see that slingshot happening, right?
Yeah.
Because that will be a abrupt, and obviously people would go, oh my God, we were expecting a drawn out war. So if there's some hold to that, it would mean a fairly potential substantial bounce. Don't think that's going to happen though. So I agree. I think we're going to be looking at the unexpected downside. So potentially, we're thinking maybe, personally, I'm thinking between, say, 26, 28 would be what I'm looking at. So another 10%, 26 to 28. But we could see it back to 2020, 2022, something like that.
And if we have a sort of a recession, they're already talking now about recession around the world.
Yep.
That's obviously going to affect the commodities plays. And you saw iron ore already down overnight. Gold was up, which is good for gold, but iron ore was down, and maybe sort of copper. And so if our commodity plays are hurt a little bit, and the FOMO goes out of that side of our market a little bit, Wolfie. Obviously, the bank's looking like they're going down. Certainly, that 6,000 level is a realistic short-term target.
Yeah, I think so. I think, again, 6,000 is not that bad. It's coming back to that 2020 levels, which is, the slingshot from the pandemic, where everyone thought the world's going to end.
Yeah, and maybe if obviously if Dow goes low, we could go down to, say, 55,000, right?
Yeah, look, I think 6,000 is a decent level. I think we should theoretically hold, because if you look back, that's still 2018 levels, right?
It peaked up there actually in 2015. It peaked to that level. But
so really, unless something drastic happens in Australia, like you said, recession, China completely slows down, doesn't want our iron ore or our commodities, then potentially you could see that shoot through the 6,000 down to that 5,000 level.
Very, very interesting. So I'm a mum and dad, Wolf. I'm at home. I've got a few stocks. Hopefully everyone's listened to us. They've got plenty of cash. What are you doing?
Again, I'm going to go back to that same old, putting my fundamental cap. I'm not even thinking about the technicals right now, because I'm looking back through history. History in time tells me that whenever I see big red candles, big pullbacks, big bear markets, Dave, that's your 10-year opportunity to make bucket loads of returns, right? So I'm looking at stocks to buy. So we mentioned yesterday 5 that I thought, we're back at 2019 levels, so 2019 sales. And I'm looking at that to start nibbling, to start looking at those stocks. So even if I say a small nibble on 2019 stocks that we talked about yesterday, if it goes to 2018 levels, then I have another nibble like this, right? So I'm looking at those stories with a 5-year view outlook that I want to own, because I know they're going to be quite good and probably much higher than they have been. I mean, history repeats itself over and over again, Dave. It's a cyclical thing. We're always going to have a bear market. We're also going to have a bull market. We're just going to hope that we can, heed our warning from history and say, time to buy is when everyone's fearful and scared. So is it now? Like I said, you can start looking at the 2019 stocks. We've found 5 of them, but you can be patient. You can just wait for another week or 2 or 3 and have a look where it goes to, because at the moment it's still looking fairly dire.
Do you think it could go as low as 3,500?
I am always of the opinion that never count anything else, because you just don't know what's around the corner. If there's nuclear weapons, for example, involved, and possibly 3,500 is not without a real possibility.
Retest somewhere near those lows round. I mean, it's amazing how the market can overshoot to the downside, isn't it?
It can, but
I'll tell you why it's interesting, Wolf. Looking at that, I don't know. I know it only went back to where it was 3 years ago, but that was like that post Dow crash was what went from 190 down to 100, right? That's one hell of a fall. I just wonder, you're always looking, aren't you, that this market, the stock market, could just do something you never ever believed it could do. And
I think that 3,000, I think that's very, 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 very low chance. I think that's really being an outlier there, I think, Dave. And like I said, there's always a small percentage chance that you're going to happen, but and you have to have everything go against you. So, for example, inflation goes rampant, America can't rein it in, depression everywhere, World War III potentially as well, maybe a China conflict with Taiwan. that's all things probably have to happen to get to 3,500 points, 3,000 points.
But I mean, listen, at the end of the day, keep your charting simple. You look at
Yes.
that big red candle.
Yep.
Looks like it's going a lot lower.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, technicals are saying it's going lower, and I think
look at that.
The capitulation normally lasts for a few weeks, right? You're going to probably see 2 or 3 weeks of that sort of stuff. Like I said, there's no urgency buying anything. We give you 5 stories to start looking at, and a really bad week like we've had this week, and you see how you go. But you've got to have that long-term outlook for those things. And Dave, I told you a little story. I remember during the UFC, I didn't know anything about technicals back then. I was trained on just on fundamentals. So I thought to myself, at a certain point, I was looking at the banks. Everyone's saying that everything will collapse, the banking system will collapse. But you look at the banking system, and you think to yourself, nah, I think Australia's fairly safe. We're not gonna fall apart. And then the government was talking about guaranteeing the deposits and everything else. So I just started buying, banks at $15, going big. And again, took the long-term view, 5 years down the track, doubled my money on the bank price. Plus, remember those fake dividends that were starting to come in. Now I thought, holy moly, that was what a stroke of genius that was.
Yeah, I remember you telling me you were buying ANZ around 15 here, right?
Yeah.
It went lower. You must have been getting a bit panicky around 11, but you had the long-term view, and you took your long-term view, and you
like I said, 5 years. It took 5 years for my $15 to there you go to double, right?
Bloody hell, pretty lousy return to be honest, Wolf.
Yeah, but wait,
lucky you know how to chart now, isn't it?
But I'll get a dividend as well. So it was a decent buy. I think by the time I got out at about $30, I was getting like $2 in dividends every year.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So that was adding quite a bit to the returns.
No, that is good. That is good.
Anyway, so it's just a food for thought here is that this is an opportunity. It's going to be a huge opportunity for everyone to get some stories. And we're never going to time the bottom. We're going to hopefully have a good idea when we are going to be there, because we're going to be using charts, of course, and they are great tool for us to use. But picking that absolute bottom would be impossible. So you can stagger your buying. If I feel there's a capitulation happening, you can stagger your buying over months.
All right, interesting, Wolf, isn't it? Opportunity of a lifetime coming up. Yep. So this is it. I suppose of all the time we're trending and jumping into these great stories, what you're saying, quality companies, the best companies
absolutely
on the planet, buying them at really knockdown prices.
Yeah, well, we know already 2019 sales. So can we see 2017, 2006? Yeah, absolutely. So it's just be patient. We've got the first load happening. Let's see if we can get some more.
Well, for the way this is looking, honestly, I mean, we could be going a lot lower than people.
I love the commentary of you, Dave, because I can see when there's lots of people talk like that, we know.
No, Wolf, you missed it. Everyone's saying we're going lower, but I don't think like I said, I think we're going lower.
Yeah, well, the more people say lower and talk 3,500, this is great news for me.
It doesn't mean it's going to go up, not in this market, mate.
I'm not looking to go up tomorrow, Dave. I'm looking for the long term.
Well, yeah, that's what you want. Okay, now what about GUD?
Yes.
They put an announcement out today.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a downgrade. I mean, that's again sneaky. Aftermarket. How many times have we seen it, Dave? Aftermarket 4:30, everyone goes home. Quickly, let's just see. Maybe they won't notice our downgrade to our earnings.
It's so stupid they do that. It's like as if no one's going to notice.
I know. But I think they're just hoping that people will have time to digest it and don't overreact. Well, there's your overreaction right there.
Okay, what about Hum?
Oh God, it's even worse, Dave. We talked about it about 2 or 3 weeks back. They were pleading and begging investors to say yes to the offer from Latitude, and they were actually talking about it yesterday. Please take the offer up. And today, I think Latitude pulled the pin. I mean, the company says by mutual agreement with the other part. Well, yeah, by mutual agreement, it was Latitude said, "Sorry, we're out."
Isn't it classic? Too greedy, you end up with nothing.
Yes.
Okay, Wolf. Just having a look. It's not all doom and gloom. You see, the food stock's not looking too bad. AAC's actually had a good rebound. Rick has got a lovely little buy signal and breakout to record highs. So
Yes.
Hello, that might be the only stock on Einstein's on the weekend. Possibly is. So it might be just one stock to have a look at. But gold is coming back. So
maybe you'll have a few more then.
Yeah, so let's have a look. We got gold, evolution. Unfortunately, not doing enough, Wolf. But anyway, at least there's a little bit of life in the gold, and gold, as we said, is holding up. Elders, for looking at the food stocks, is holding up. Grain Corp, a little bit weak actually, Wolf, but I'm happy to hold that. I'm reading overnight that the really poor wheat crops in America now. So there's a bit of an issue. So wheat was up overnight. That these wheat crop, the weather hasn't been that good, right? So the USA is a huge.
Yeah, look, I would not be discounting any of those war stocks yet. I mean, when there's a capitulation, everything probably gets suffered a little bit.
Yeah.
But wait till the inflation keeps sort of being around and everyone sees the energy prices and food prices still being extremely high. You'll probably see those companies keep delivering excellent news.
And with the banks,
I wouldn't touch them yet. Remember you asked me just before, right? Would you be buying the banks now? And I said no, because there's two things. Or what I normally say for the dividends, I'd be looking at them. Problem is, you've got a period coming where maybe there's a little bit of uncertainty. In other words, we've got a real estate market that possibly going lower, right? Which is a big part of banks' business. So for me, because of the uncertainty there, I'd rather wait and see what happens, right? So let's give us the next updates and see where the banks are before I start maybe looking at them as a little punt. But right now, no.
All right, Wolf, listen, we've got live at 12 o'clock. So I think it's very important that everyone goes in live and ask your questions and certainly difficult times to, obviously trading is more or less impossible, but difficult times, but an exciting time really to invest over the next year or so. And we just got to pick these stories at the right price.
Absolutely. Definitely.
All right. Thanks, Wolfie.
Thanks, guys.